Hi, hello, happy Sabbath and Shabbat Shalom. Thought I'd give you a little update. Mom pulled her little amaryllis out of the basement, and it started off about that white, but it has quickly filled in, and it's the most leaves we've ever seen on it. It's got 6. Hopefully it'll flower very soon. Over here, I pulled the last of the, sorry, that's not cucumbers. Pulled the last of the cucumbers that will be probably used for pickling this year, and those are these over here. So I've got these cucumbers and all these over here and a few more over here. So hopefully, oh, looks like one went bad on me. I guess I can't be surprised. They've been sitting here for, well, many weeks. So, might be less here than I had originally anticipated. But, generally speaking, got these cucumbers, or the bulk of them, here to can into pickles. And I'm going to do this batch significantly different from the last batch in that I'm going to peel them, but I'm not going to try to harden them up with any of the calcium stuff. I was not impressed with all that. I don't think it worked too well. Besides, bread and butter pickles are not really designed to be a hard, firm pickle, so that's not a big deal anyhow. But other than that, I'm going to open them up, take all the seeds out of them, so I got some to plant next year. Plus I'm going to take the juice out of them and try to, in the process of processing the seeds, I'll process the juice because it's a kind of a natural bug itch relief medicine here. And oops, I was going to try to swat a fly. Anyhow, I got these organic lentils here. They were in bags, 1 pound bags. That's not all of them, that's just the ones I haven't planted. They're here, I'll be showing them to you here momentarily. Let me get my shoes on. As in my feet. Can't really say that a lot has changed out here drastically, except that I keep forgetting to water my plants, but they seem to recover. The potato plant out here is doing alright. I'll have to water these again here pretty quick because they are, in fact, you can see they're losing leaves, the grapefruit trees there. I'll be back later and try to water the rest, but that's just to remind myself realistically. Everything over here looks, well, alive anyhow, if nothing else. We're still before the winter cactus have decided to flower. Some of the repotted plants are doing better, some of them are not. Biggest problem was not getting a lot of these aloe veras planted before they turn to, you know, they've dried up, died, a lot of them. This thing is putting on babies, so it's doing well. Mom's African violets are still doing well, from what I can tell. The not wandering Jews, what am I trying to say? The spider plants, for the most part, are recovering from being eaten off to the ground. Although I think one of them didn't make it. And then there's some clippings of Wandering Jew over there that need to be repotted. And so that's pretty much most of what's been going on in the house. Not a lot, but not an immeasurable amount. The babies are all still where they were last at, except for when I moved, which we'll discuss that here in a minute. Now, as far as things moving, let me get out here. Of course, I had the one baby housed in here, sort of. Over here, they've knocked down my pony wall. I can't blame them, they're goats, they do that kind of stuff. So I'm going to probably just go ahead and restart that. I'm going to dig underneath the blocks, try to set up a bit of a concrete footer, extend off this pony wall, go in that direction with some concrete. And then I will stand the blocks back up, try to seal this all off, stand blocks all the way in here, and then concrete them all in, hopefully up about that high, then put that feeder box on here. So hopefully that won't be long. What happened was that one baby that was supposed to be in quarantine crawled underneath that gap in the fence, right in that gate. So when she was able to crawl in there like that, she was able to get in with the boys. So she may be pregnant, which is something we were desperately trying to avoid until somebody put her in where we didn't want her and she didn't belong. So if she is pregnant, then she's got to go through that stress on top of still recovering from, if at all possible, the health issues that she has otherwise. Now over here, we're supposed to have frost tonight. Because we're supposed to have frost tonight, a lot of this surface cover right here, like that Bermuda grass and stuff that's trying to grow back from being eaten down, it's probably going to freeze over, along with a lot of this other. It just depends on how high and how hard the frost is, because often it comes down here in the bottomland and doesn't quite get up to the house. But on other occasions it comes down the hillside. When it comes down the hillside, here's a daisy. When it comes up the hillside, down the hillside, it gets everything in its path. And when that happens, usually pretty much everything gets frozen. Now, getting up here to the idea of frost protection, I've got tarps and sleeping bags over the plants. Whether it will protect them at all, we'll only know after the fact. But basically I've got the tarp in here and I've got the water running specifically to retain heat. I must have turned the water flow too low. Yeah, I did. There. I don't want it to just drain the tank and run us out of water, but I want it to run because the water filling up there will have thermal mass that will both carry heat to the plants, and then as it floats around and lays around, it'll evaporate and put heat into the air around the plants. That's the general idea anyhow. So in theory, after our little brush with cold weather, like that tip up there, will probably get froze off, and or anything else exposed. It's hard to say. It just depends on how much heat comes up through there. My hay bale fell off, so I've got to pick it up and stick it back in place. It was up and then it, of course, slumped down. So I'll have to prop it up and get it back and probably use that floor jack right there to literally jack the bale up. If not, I'll have to get over here with the tractor and lift it up. But either way, I need to get it up so I can get it back off the ground so it doesn't rot. Hopefully it'll be used up here pretty quick before it rots anyhow, for the before the heavy rains come. So that's where those tarps were sitting in there. That's why it looks open and empty. So here, as you see, I've got a sleeping bag over the tomatoes, and I've got a little tarp over the bell peppers. I haven't done anything with the yarrow because I don't know how frost proof they are, for one, and the other, I have to find another tarp for them. Over here, I was mentioning that I was given those lentils and that I'd planted them to see if they'd germinate, and well, to my delight, they actually have germinated and they're doing quite well. I will, after sunset, I will tarp these with something as well. Doesn't really matter what. Probably I'll just throw a big, I've got another sleeping bag that I know will cover them. Plus I've got this, although it's not really very much or anything. So I'll probably not worry about that. I'll probably just go use the sleeping bag that I usually use to cover the tractor with whenever I'm warming it up. Because I warm it up if I know I've got to have it out in the cold weather. That way I don't have to worry about all these glow plugs and garbage. It doesn't have, I don't even know if it has glow plugs. If it does, it doesn't matter, I don't use them. I figured this way, if it's warm, I'll start it, if I have to, with starting fluid, just a spritz, because it only takes a spritz. And once it rolls over once, it always continues. And when it's warm, I can start it just off of its own internal heat anyhow. So anything worse than that, I just warm up the block. So that's pretty much where that's at. All this crying and panicking is the one that she's in quarantine. And obviously she's very displeased about it. Of course she cries a lot anyhow, but she's upset because of the fact that she's all alone. And now that she's all alone this far, she's going completely nuts. Plus she may still be in heat. Yes, the Gretel, Gretel. There's a baby. So, Gretel, Gretel, Gretel. You just sound so pathetic. So desperate. So, she hasn't been eating the hay yet, but that's probably because of the fact that she's still eating the green grass. She's been up here chewing up this place here. Probably because she was trying to run up and get out of here, I don't know. She's probably trying to escape, because that's what goats do normally. Yes, you are demanding, little critter, aren't you? It's hard to believe she's given birth once. She doesn't even have like a real udder to speak of. She doesn't even look like she's big enough to give birth. Her boy, who will be going to market in the spring, is bigger than she is. She was looking pretty rough, if you may recall. Yes, Gretel, Gretel, Gretel. Yes. What you doing? You looking for goodies? You just looking for companionship? You just don't want to be alone. You don't bite my fingers. Ow. She just wants to eat my fingers. I don't know about Maya, they like to eat my hands. Anyhow, so she'll be down here for the indefinite future whilst, unless she gets out, in which case I'll probably have a hard time catching her. But anyhow, she's, if you look on her neck there is still some roughness around her jawline. That's that, whatever it is, we don't know if it's CL or if it's staph or what it is, and so since we don't know, we've got her in isolation. It's been, instead of having one big fat pustule like most of the staph infections tend to be, hers is like a really a little surge of dozens of little blisters about the size of the tip of my finger that come up independently of each other and rupture and then close over, but the area seems to be pretty thick. So hopefully we can figure this out and maybe figure out what to do to get her better if at all possible. Some people say once they've had CL they're useless. Other people don't think so. All I need to do right now is make certain I can do something to keep her safe. while we figure out and keep everybody else safe from her, while we figure out what's best to do. Now, a big portion of what I've done, you notice the cedar pole is over here now. I brought that over here just to get it out in the open. There's a walking stick on it. Anyhow, so I'm going to try to make a diagonal brace for the field with that so that I can brace the corner posts whenever they're under a load from the fence. I guess I didn't mention while I was there, I pointed right at it, but you might or might not noticed it. There was a gate. This gate had been back in the back and it was broken. Came from my grandfather's farm. And it had broken in shipping or somewhere, and I had to weld it back together. And that thing, I carried it up there. I was going to use it for a barrier to hold the tarps and stuff up on, but it didn't really work for that. So for the moment, it's pretty much not doing anything until I put fence wire on it to be a barrier to keep the goats out of it if they get out again, which they don't seem to have gotten out lately. Partly because there's a girl in with them. Now, what I have been doing, and this will be the last thing I report on, what I have been doing is I've been working on this shelf system over here. And if you remember, all this was just laying over in a corner. I've got it cross-beamed up to the... I've got it beamed straight up to the rafters, all 3 rows. If you want to call it, or pillars in 2 rows, and then I've got it pinned to the wall this way so that it's less prone to fall this way, and then the shelves themselves will kind of share the load across. And then if I find it needs more strength, I can pin from there. So I got some more boards. I can pin diagonally from that pillar to here. That'd be 1. Over there, probably just diagonally up. I know it's right in the light, but pretty much right up by the light area, I will pin 1 in there and go up. Whereas here, I pin from here up to this corner post here, or something like that, just if I need that extra strength. I shouldn't, but I'm always ready for it. Down here, this is fastened, and this is fastened to the joist through here. That one is fastened 2 places on cross ties that aren't the joist, but they're adjacent to the joist. And then that one is fastened to just a blocker, the one next to the laser there. And I think I can show you that pretty easily. Let me turn this light on. Let me set this down a second here. Alright, and then I will get myself down here. Kind of hard to show you what I'm looking at without looking at it myself. So, you see this block of wood that's just sitting there, standing there, and there's a little block of wood right there, and that block of wood is what the screw is driven into. You can maybe just barely see the, of course with the intensity of the light, maybe not. Yeah, there you go. There's a screw sticking out. And the other screws are in this piece here that goes parallel to the floor joist, because that's the only thing I had available to stick them to. So that's pretty much a piece of plywood or something under there I need to get. Yeah, I don't know what that plywood's from or if there's something on it. I should get under here one of these days. There's a bunch. Sometimes there's varmints running under here. I don't know if they're trying to make a nest because it doesn't look like it, but they have dug under the wall at the far end. And I can't really get down to that far end to show that to you because just really don't have the means and capacity to get everything moved out of there. So it really, I can't really show you closely what's going on over there, but there's a big massive mound from groundhogs digging under there at the far side. I will have to deal with that eventually. Of course, I've been digging here, and that's for that drainage ditch. Hopefully I can get that done before too late. If you notice also, all this loose stuff, that's from me tromping around up on top of it, using it for interim steps to get up on here, because where I'm sitting is where I want the steps to ultimately be. However, at this exact moment in time, I don't have these stabilized permanently where I need them to be. And water's flowing in from wherever it's flowing in, and it's coming down through here, and it's washing, eroding around that block right there on both sides. And so right on both sides of that block, there's water erosion that's coming from about over there. It's coming somewhere up in the hillside here. So the idea is to drive a trench all the way through here. Whereas that piece of pipe right there is part of the plan. And then I'll have to get some more drain tile or something, come through here and tie that off under there to that one, which is a kind of a Y with a 45 on the end of it. But the bottom down below is where I'll tie into it wherever it comes out. So anyhow, I got them shelves started. I've got them up. Now I got to hang. You see the little metal shelves, how they hang on there. I've got that whole truck bed full of them. And they'll all go on there. Because all those shelves right there that are all just stacked on the back of that truck bed will end up in a critter. It's Gretel. I figured she'd get out eventually. Yeah, well, what do you know? What are you doing? So I'm going to let her go in here, and she'll poop all over the place, but once she's in here I can close the door and she'll stay in here for about 3 minutes. Here's a Gretel. Yeah, she's determined to live her own life. Kind of like that song by Fleetwood Mac, Go Your Own Way. Well, now I got to figure out what to do with her, since she's decided today was the day to get out. And she'll wander around here and make a mess. She can technically get out of here. She hunts around and searches around. There are ways to escape. So it's not like leaving her in here is going to... Because she can get right out over there. No problem, unfortunately. Now she's in here in my area. She wants to see what's up. And so I will come after sunset. I'll have to go and run her back to where I normally keep her. And then that'll have to be her home for the indefinite future. Because clearly she got out of the field. She'll probably get out of here too for all that. But just over the moment, I'll just leave her in here so she wanders around exploring and discovering for a while. Maybe she'll just be little Dora the Explorer kind and just wander around for a while. And then we'll see what we can do to imprison her properly after a while. Now, that's all I'm going to report on today for the Sabbath report, and I'm not going to mess with her until after sunset, which is a bit of a booger, but, well, it is what it is. So, shalom to everybody, and hope you have a prosperous week coming up. Say goodbye, Gretel. She's like, I don't care about you.